In my early years as a mortgage advisor, I hit a wall, not because of leads, not because of my income, though it was because of these mindset mistakes that I made that quickly drained my motivation. I'm going to share those with you today because I share these with my coaching clients and give you a bit of an inside look. So let's dive into it. The first mistake that I made was I chased volume, not value. I thought that more cases would equal more success, but working with the wrong clients drained my energy and made me question why I even started. I instantly started to think that if I want to make more money, I need to do more cases. And this was really, really, really bad. In fact, it burnt me out significantly. Now, it's a lesson I wish I'd learned sooner, and I kind of did learn it sooner and then forgot. So I learned it when I was at Connells that you need to do less amounts of business, but get good at selling insurance. I was actually very good at selling insurance. Once I went employed under a financial planning firm, I actually completely threw this out the window. I forgot. And I started just wanting to try and stack cases high and thought that was the only way to make money. It was a really bad mistake because what got me here, what got me like hired there and people wanted to work with me is because I was very good at making a lot out of a little. I really wish I'd learned that sooner because now it's kind of the cornerstone of pretty much everything I teach is this idea of maximizing value. You want to maximize every single lead you have because you then can work smarter, not harder. A lot of times we are working way too hard as mortgage advisors and we could either make the same amount of money for probably half the time or we can make double the amount of money for the same amount of time. But it's all about smart planning and understanding how to maximize and create value from your existing cases. The second thing is I said yes to everything. So every referral, every time slot, every favor, I lost control of my diary and with it, my drive went there too. I believed, and I'm sure that many of you will at some point too, that if I'm available 24/7, then that's going to allow me to be the best possible advisor for my clients. I did this a lot. I actually had a conversation with one of my best friends who is in real estate, and he was saying that his job is to be available 24/7. And I actually think this is such a massive myth, that availability 24/7 just leads to burnout and unappreciative clients. In fact, from my experience over the years, the more I set boundaries, and I notice that with my clients when I teach them that, the more I set boundaries and said no to things, protected my time, I had better outcomes. Because at the end of the day, it's a consistency game, it's a sustainability game. So if you're saying yes to a load of business because you just got to get over that hump, what if that never ends? And by the way, there's many advisors out there where this is the case, where you think that I'll just do a really big month this month and then next month I'll relax. But then usually, not always, but usually if you're doing big months, they're going to lead to more referrals, and you end up with a business that you hate. And I've had that happen to me in the past. I've had it happen to me with coaching, where I've taken on too many people and realized I shouldn't have said yes to everything. It's the same thing here with advising. I did exactly the same thing there. Lesson, should have learned it twice, but we don't. And so if you are feeling like you're overwhelmed, you're feeling like this is just a short stint and it's going to be over in a bit, chances are it won't, because you're allowing that behavior to continue. And the more you allow that behavior, the more it's going to happen. It's as simple as that. Either decide that it's not for you and that you are work very, very hard and you're cool with that, or if you don't like it, start to make actions and decisions today to change that. The third mistake I made was I measured progress by completions. So I only felt I was winning when money landed. That meant that months of hard work felt like a failure until payday. The truth is, if we only measure by the payment, there's so many other micro wins that were happening and are happening with our business and were happening with mine. But I got very focused on money. Now, not because I'm necessarily money motivated, but because that became the only score. And there are so many other things to measure by. And also by the nature of what you do in mortgage services, it is not easy to predict what you're going to make, because if you're measuring by money, it could be 3 to 6 months before you're paid that. And so for myself, it just constantly felt like I was failing. The issue was by measuring completions and payments instead of new discovery calls, people saying yes, submissions, and other things as well. There was actually a disconnect because the money had been paid, but the work I had done for it was so long ago, it didn't feel like I'd even earned it. It was a really weird feeling. And that's why I'm not a fan of that at all, is that you need to focus, I believe anyway, I began to focus on things that I could control, that I could win my day on. So that was where it was like, okay, have I made content today? Have I spoken to every client today? Updated every client that needs to be updated? Have I, like keyed in the application and got it off my desk when I said I would today. Like these little micro wins that if I can win the day, then I can win the week. And if I win the week, win the month, win the year, so to speak. And I found progress by measuring those. And interestingly, I actually would say that's probably the biggest lesson I got from that. Was why I say it still hits home is because I still slip into this thing myself. I can still slip into the concept of, making content and then going like, well, I don't get paid for it when I have a waiting list. It's a very, very hard thing to break. It's very difficult to break this type of mentality and habit. And yet we still should try. We still should absolutely try. So start measuring things outside of completion. And a little pro tip on that one is measure the things you can control. You can't control if someone says yes, but you can control how much content you make, how many discovery calls you make. If you followed the script, if you went through the protection and pitched it, you can control all of those things. If you measure that and you measure your success by that, you'll do very, very well. Number 4 was I built a business I didn't even like. I copied what other brokers were doing, so their content, their processes, their client types. None of it ever felt like me. I was working at Connells, and then when I went self-employed, I remember setting up my office. I was like, be my own boss and do it differently because you got to do it your way this time. And the reason I hated it is because I wanted to get away from Connells. I didn't not enjoy it, but it wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. And so it's so funny because I remember having this thing of like, wait a minute, I'm trying to create a business that I want. And I'm just creating a replica of the thing I didn't like in my house. So yeah, now I'm still working there. There's still loads of stuff to do. It was a very strange thing. And I see this happen a lot. I actually had this happen recently with a client of mine who's gone self-employed, but it's ultimately just being employed, but self-employed. He works as an estate agent introducer. He's saying the same pitches, the exclusive rates will save you better deals, all of the stuff that, we know we shouldn't be saying because it's not good. And he's stressed and tired and overworked. And it's because of that. Building it would be careful to build a business you don't want, because we can do that. It's much easier to build a business you don't want than build a business you do. It's much harder to build the one you do want, but it plays out in the end and you do enjoy it. You absolutely will have that business you want. But the way I look at it now, and I do this with myself, see if it like roses, your dead head roses, to keep them all healthy. I have to constantly be trimming and getting rid of things in my business that I'm like, that's not quite a right fit. That's not a good fit. And if you don't keep your eye on the ball with that, you will end up in a business you absolutely hate and have sold yourself the idea that you think it's right. And it's not. It's absolutely not. You have the right to decide. If you're self-employed, you have the right to decide exactly how you want it to be. Number 5 is I ignored my energy. Some clients lit me up, others drained me, but I treated them all the same until I burnt out. Now, the energy one is an interesting one. I'm a big advocate of doing whatever it takes to push through, and you should deliver a good job. But there are clients that will drain you. And there are clients on the other side of that who will inspire you and light you up. My advice to you would be to try and find more of the ones who light you up. And of course, that sounds cliche, but what I used to say to my clients, and it's reality actually, not as into my broker when I was a broker, is I'd say, if I see your name flash up on my phone, so my phone lights up, I see your name, I need to be excited that I see your face and see your name on there. If I'm looking at it going, oh, what? Then we've already lost. Now, I wish I took some of my own advice on that sometimes, but I got to that realization for that point, is that the customer is not always right. You don't have to work with everybody. You should protect your type of sacred type of who you want to work with. You really should protect that. I'm not saying you should say no to everybody at all, but if there are very clear people who you don't want to work with, see, motivation, it's just about mindset, okay? It's about alignment. When your business fits who you are, the momentum will follow through with it. Now, if you want to check out my deep dive into the systems I use to stay productive as a coach and also coaches my mortgage brokers, click on the video on screen right now.